German compound nouns such as Schadenfreude or Elektrizitätsversorgungsunternehmen are a famously common, productive, and nearly unrestricted class of words. Despite their complexity, the interpretation of these nouns is in most cases straightforward because they are composed of lexemes, which typically correspond to existing words. For example, Kirschbaum, cherry tree, decomposes into Kirsch, cherry, and Baum, tree. In German nominal compounds, the last noun is the head of the nominal phrase. It governs the grammatical properties of the whole compound, such as grammatical gender and number, and determines its core meaning. A cherry tree is a type of tree and not a type of cherry. When nominal compounds are modified by an adjective, the adjective takes on the morphological properties of the head noun. Nominal compounds together with adjectives can be interpreted in one of two ways. They usually have a canonical reading. The Königliche Hochzeitsfeier, the royal wedding celebration, is interpreted as a regal celebration of a wedding. In some well-attested constructions, the adjective can equally or even preferentially modify the first noun. For example, the Königliche Hochzeitsfeier can also be a royal family's celebration of a wedding. These constructions are referred to as bracketing paradoxes. Why are bracketing paradoxes relevant? They're technically ungrammatical. They seem to violate the principle of compositionality, which states that the meaning of a complex expression is determined by the meanings of its parts and the rules for their composition. The canonical and bracketing paradox interpretations have the exact same syntactic structure, but their semantics seem to differ. Since they're so ungrammatical, you would expect bracketing paradoxes to be rare, but they're very common. We still don't know how they are licensed and interpreted, though it may be through the context, world knowledge, pragmatics, semantic transparency, language economy, how lexicalized the compound is, morphosyntactic agreement between the adjective and nouns, and the semantic compatibility between the adjective and nouns. There is barely any empirical research on these constructions, and we decided to change that. In experiment 1, we investigated the role of semantic match between the adjective and the individual nouns in the adjective nominal compound construction. Based on the theoretical literature and newspaper articles, we compiled a list of 204 adjective and nominal compound phrases. In an online questionnaire, we asked participants to assign 1 to 5 values to the items, in one of 3 versions, on the dimensions of naturalness, comprehensibility, and stylistic form. Since the ratings across the scales were highly correlated, we used the mean of these ratings. A Bayesian beta regression modeled the ratings for the compound phrase as a function of the adjective and first noun and adjective and second noun ratings, morphosyntactic agreement between the adjective and the first noun, and their interactions. As expected, we found that high adjective and N2 ratings were predictive of high ratings for the compound phrase. What we didn't expect is that when adjective and second noun ratings were high, higher adjective and first noun ratings slightly reduced the rating for the entire phrase, suggesting a perceived conflict or competition between the nouns. We also looked at the effect of morphosyntactic agreement between the adjective and the first noun, but as it turns out, morphosyntactic match had no effect. The second experiment investigated which noun is actually modified by the adjective and how this choice is influenced by semantic and morphosyntactic mismatch. In a similar task, we asked participants to indicate which noun of the compound does the adjective actually modify. Surprisingly, 30% of compounds exhibited a flexible attachment preference, which is a lot considering that the bracketing paradox interpretation is ungrammatical. A Bayesian beta regression modeled the rate of noun 1 attachment for the adjective as a function of the corresponding adjective and first noun and adjective and second noun ratings from experiment 1, morphosyntactic agreement, and their two-way interactions. As expected, high adjective and first noun semantic match increased, and high adjective and N2 match reduced noun 1 attachments. The adjective and N1 match had a bigger effect when adjective and N2 match was poor. Here again, there was no evidence for an effect of morphosyntactic match between the adjective and the first noun. In conclusion, acceptability ratings and attachments seem to be determined largely by semantic factors. The results indicate that strong semantic cues can override grammatical constraints, and compositional processing can be suspended to fulfill communicative goals.